Hey, AfterBuzz TV, we're breaking down the Legends of Tomorrow After Show, Season 1, Episode 16, Legendary, the season finale. Talking about transmutation, the proper way to dispose of meteor, and Rex Mother Effin' Tyler. It's our man, everybody. Let's do this.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
That's getting ready for everybody just to enjoy Mr. Dave Child's sweet dance moves as they go on hiatus too. We have to say goodbye to the Legends of Tomorrow After Show for just a few months. Hey, everybody.
This is the theme song to the Legends of Tomorrow, right?
That's right, exactly.
That's
yes.
right.
Should be.
I've been paying attention all season long.
Hey, everybody, we're the Legends of Tomorrow AfterBuzz After Show crew. Here we'll be breaking down the season finale, Legendary, on Season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow. I'm one of your hosts, Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie. We have the full panel united tonight to break down this series, or this season, and just talk about this episode in particular. To my immediate left,
yeah,
you're always adorable.
Me? Nice. That's me. That's so nice.
Yeah.
Always adorable.
Always. Wow. You're like my parents, but more generous.
That's right.
Yeah. I am Lex Michael, all of our social media, at the Lex Michael, and we have our whole crew united, which puts us one up on the Wave Rider.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
It's true. I'm the sometimes adorable
but
Dave
always
Child.
sexy.
You can find me at Mr. Dave Child on Twitter and internets. And I'm glad to be here. Oh boy.
Well, I'm also glad to be here, and as always, I'm Lacretia Lyon, and you can find me anywhere at LACRETIALYON, since there is only one.
All right, folks, as always this whole season, you can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on iTunes, give us those sweet 5 stars, follow us on Twitter. Lacretia's got the chat open. She's going to be just chiming in with some of your thoughts that you had about the season finale or the season in general. Chime in with your thoughts there, and she will try to not laugh too much as she shares.
No.
Right.
But real quick, before we break into the episode in specific, how do you feel just in general? Did this episode stick the landing?
Yeah, I mean, it was. It had some fun moments, and it was able to kind of retrace some steps, which I always like, especially if you're doing time travel and your last episode. It's nice to revisit some stuff occasionally. There was a few time travel logic questions I have that maybe you guys can help me with. But overall, we got a lot of... We've always talked about how our favorite moments are when they really show off their powers and they really have these action sequences. And I feel like we had that this episode, and that's all that really matters. So,
Lacretia?
Yeah, I loved it. I laughed a lot in this episode, and I was laughing with them, not at them. So I like that. Because I feel like everything happened that needed to in this episode. It really was a good bookend to the season.
Yeah, I agree. For me, the high point of the season was last week's episode. I think that was the best hour that they have produced in their first season, but I liked this finale. I agree. I think they hit everything they needed to hit. They tied everybody's arc up for this year. We got some really nice, poignant human moments with everybody. Everybody got to do some fun actiony stuff. Rip got to hover on the Wave Rider and do it played in a wide.
Something cool.
But no, it cuts to a wide and you see him, but you gotta really look at Rip because he does that, his arms go out and he's like, what? which is great, and I also appreciate too, we've gone back and forth on our after show over the course of the season about Vandal Savage's effectiveness as a lead villain.
Right.
Because he goes back and forth from being totally believable as a potentially universe-ending threat and something more akin to your weird pervy uncle. And this episode,
weird pervy uncle is not a universal threat?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the ultimate universal threat.
But my point is, and don't get me wrong, especially early in the episode when he's talking to Kendra on the little ship that he stole, total pervy uncle. But by the end, where they're fighting 3 different Vandal Savages in 3 different timelines, and my maybe favorite thing he's done all season, which I pointed out as we were watching, the shot in 1940s Paris where they are, and you see Vandal Savage come out of nowhere, just booking it, and he chucks his knife into the dude. I'm like, oh, Where's that guy been?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
was
used
cool.
the blades a lot, and especially in the Flash and Arrow crossover episodes. He was big
Right.
with the blades, and we haven't really seen him use them
He
that
was
much.
Mr. Blades. He
Yes.
used to be the Blade Man.
I know.
And then he went away from the blade and just went to the slick back hair. And that was enough. And the weird smile. That's kind of him.
The
that
smile-
was my Vandal impression.
And his delivery, and Casper Crumb is such a fascinating. I've only seen him in this role.
Yeah.
Based solely on his performance as Vandal Savage. What a fascinating actor this man is.
Yeah.
There was a time in this episode tonight where he goes back and he's talking to himself. He bumps into Vandal Savage in, I think it was in the 50s.
1958.
And he's talking about to Vandal Savage, I'm bringing you a solution that will wipe out time. And I got what he was saying, the actual words that he was saying, but a combination of his accent and his delivery made it sound like it was all one word. It was all very like, I'm gonna think we're time destroyed and we win. And I was like, I understood that, but I don't think I should have been able to process what just happened.
That's how they did in Shakespearean times.
Yeah.
They just made the whole play one word. That they just stretch out. I think what happened was he traded his knives for evil casserole.
Yeah.
There you go. That's right. All right. So as we talk about the episode here, we start off at the beginning here. They pretty much destroyed the Oculus thanks to
Right.
Snart sacrificing himself. So now they've kind of lost track of Savage through time. So Rip, as always, is just looking for the quickest reason just to to bail on the rest of the legends. So he takes him back to 2016, says, "See you later. I gotta go."
Oops, sorry, dude.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
I'm a hologram. I know we spend all this time about hey, we work better together, but see you later. I'm going to go. So he leaves him back in 2016, and we finally get to see some things that we've been wanting to see all season. Specifically, Sarah finding out that Laurel's died.
So I got to talk about Paul Blackthorne in this episode because if you've been watching Arrow this season, you have had to watch his character, Quentin Lance, deal with the death of Laurel, and he gets to do some really wonderful emotional work. And to see him get to do that level of work on this show is really refreshing because if you remember, last time he was Quentin, yes, I'll take the amnesia pill, Lance. And
Right.
I wasn't totally down with that. But to
Yeah.
see present Quentin Lance and to see Paul Blackthorne getting to actually really connect with his daughter and really do some emotional work, I thought made that scene really, really affecting. I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, was this as good as you guys had hoped? I mean, we've been talking about it. When is she going to find out? And we finally find out now. Were you guys satisfied?
Yeah, I mean, I did get the feeling. I got the feeling when they came back and was like, "Oh, 5 months have passed." I was like, "Well, that will be convenient for for everyone involved."
So we can talk about what happened last week on Arrow or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
We brought you back in time for sweeps. All right, and season finales.
I thought it was good. I mean, I thought the performance of Sarah especially was really strong in this episode, and we got to see her really deal with the death, really confront the way she confronted Rip, went back to Rip and tried to get him to go back in time. That was just strong acting choices that I really liked.
I agree completely. Dave, you mentioned right up top that you have a few specific time travel rules questions.
Right.
My first one in this episode was, she goes to Rip, and of course she wants to do anything that she can to go back and save her sister, and Rip says, "I'm sorry, we can't do that."
Why not?
Yeah.
Right. Why? Other than time wants to happen.
Well, I mean, I guess it was sort of like that quantum leap when he goes to save President Kennedy. And you find out in the original timeline that Jackie died as well as Kennedy. And by him going back, he at least saved Jackie, even though President Kennedy died.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of similar to this, where, as you explained, if he'd gone back and Laurel and Sarah had stayed there, then Sarah, Quinn, and Laurel would have all died at the hand
Yes,
of
but
Damien
why
Dark.
didn't they go back in time? And this is just one of the things where I know the answer to all of these questions are going to be don't think about it, just keep going. But we see at the end of the episode, they make time for Rory to go back and just have a little, chat with Snart.
Yes.
Why didn't they just have time to have Sarah go back and just save Laurel? Just a little, just jump in, stop, save Laurel, be involved in the fight with Dark at least, and then leave.
Well, I think it's because with Mick going and talking to Snart at the strip club, it doesn't change anything, but so much stuff is affected if she went back to save Laurel. And let's see, someone made a comment about, Mystic Lightning said Lance was wearing the same shirt in last night's Arrow, Lost in the Flood. And I saw the same thing. I was like, this is literally picking up where Arrow left off last night.
Which is great. And I totally get why. Look, all right. I would have a lot more questions, and I
Yeah.
get we have to balance a lot of characters and a lot of stories. We can't spend 20 minutes on Rip explaining why more people would die if you went back to help. But why can't, at the very least, and I understand it's different shows, different shooting schedules, same network, same universe, but it's hard to get your actors to cross over between shows in ways that are going to affect the plots of other shows. Fine. Why can't Sarah also at least have a nice moment where she gets to say goodbye to Laurel somehow?
Yeah, that would have been nice.
And I think time is basically the reason. And not time like time travel, time rules, time masters, time like, you only have 40-something minutes to air this on TV.
Right.
Well, I think it's tough when you introduce time travel as a catch-all into a whole entire universe to not have that be your just default button. Like, all right, we can always go back and save everybody. I mean, I guess you still want to be able to tell stories where characters do die and they stay dead. Otherwise, you never have any of those kind of storylines.
Also, Rip does have like a moment where he does say, "Listen, we just spent an entire season watching me try and go back in time to
that was in
save
the
my
deleted
family."
scenes. Yeah.
So the fact, and you saw that never worked out for me.
Right.
So let's just assume it's not going to work out for you because just time wants to happen, sort of thing.
And
because we just saw an entire season where he was trying to do that.
And this is absolutely so far from being the only time travel story that is guilty of this same thing. Because it's true, when you have time travel, why is death even a concern for anybody as long as you don't lose the person who knows how to operate the time machine?
Right.
But so you have to continue to have stakes in your story, you do occasionally have to go, no, fixed point in time, you can't change this. And unfortunately, in most of these stories, what those points are tends to feel a little arbitrary sometimes. But it's still, even the time machine, right? Like there was a version, or maybe I'm just remembering a movie version of the time machine where you watch the guy try and save his wife over and over and over, and every time he succeeds, she still dies in a different freak accident because she's supposed to die.
Yeah, or like the butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
Yes, I think.
Good pull.
Or the Flash, but we'll go with the butterfly effect. That's better.
Well, now, we did mention this real briefly, and I'll just ask you guys since I wasn't here last week. We do see ultimately that Rip is unable to alter time, so his wife and his child end up dying. Considering that, as you're saying, that he's been basically the whole season has been him trying to save his child and his wife from the hands of Vandal Savage, and ultimately realizes that he can't do it. Satisfying to you, or do you feel like we watch the whole season of him just ultimately just fail in this endeavor?
But here's the thing. Doesn't he succeed at the end? Because when you kill Vandal Savage in 3 different times, the killing Vandal Savage in 3 different time periods is the thing that confused me the most.
I was wondering, so we're building to another one of Dave's questions.
Because this is the biggest question, because they said we have to do it at the exact same time. But they're in different time periods. Does it mean like starting now we got to do in 10 minutes?
That's right. Everybody's counting to like 300 in their head, and they're like, okay, by 300 we got to have him dead.
I don't understand that. And also when you kill him in the past, you kill him in the future.
Right.
So they did succeed. I think. Why? How did they not succeed?
Well, they succeeded
killing off Vandal.
They did, and he succeeded in avenging his family. Right, but his whole thing was I wanted to save them. He failed in that respect, but he did. Right, he ultimately avenged them.
But how did he not kill an earlier version of Vandal Savage?
How does
before he goes and kills the family? Because he killed 2 earlier versions of Vandal Savage, as well as the current. And I think I don't understand the made up time logic to fit into that. except that maybe they could have. I don't know. Like I really don't.
I mean, and that's one thing we'd have to reach out to Sarah and just say, can you explain to us at least the writer's room logic about how Rip's family is not dead because we've killed him?
I understand creating a time quake in 3 different things. That was enough of made up science for me that I was like, okay, that could cause some sort of shakeup that could maybe restart the time engine. Whatever. That's gobbledygook, but that's good gobbledygook.
Sure.
Killing the same person in 3 different time periods, though, that's totally confusing to me.
And I understand that is weird. If you dwell too long on it, you're just going to go like, everything starts to unravel at that point.
And they even say like, oh, you're mortal now because the later version of you was killed, like the one that had done everything was like stabbed. It wasn't even the earlier version.
Every answer to this question that I can come up with in the moment doesn't really hold water, because my thought is, well, look, no one else but Kendra and Carter should be able to kill him in any other time period. So I think the idea is we've got these meteors in different time periods. We have to go, let's call him Savage Prime. We have got to go kill Savage Prime. You guys just have to make sure while we're doing that, he doesn't kill the universe with one of these meteorites in another era.
Right.
And that's why once they kill Savage Prime, then the other Vandals can be dispatched. But why does the future one getting killed ripple back to the other
Back
one? Is
in
what
time.
that's what I can't explain.
If they had like stabbed the earliest, youngest version of Vandal, and then it kind of slowly ripples up so that they're able to kill him because first he turns mortal, and then all time just ripples forward.
Yeah.
That would make more sense to me.
Right.
Or if they made up something about how by setting off those periods, all of the time periods are setting off the asteroids. All of the time periods are combined into one space or one like kind of moment, so you kind of see everything happen at one point because of all these like kind of buoys or I don't know, just points of time just all converge. If they all converged into one singular moment, and then you have to kill the 3 people at the times because it's all converged. That would make a bit more sense because you use the word converge. But it doesn't even do that. It's like 3 different time periods. They all have to do it at the same. They even said at the same time. That's my biggest complaint about this finale. I feel like they wanted to have it so everyone has a chance of killing Vandal, and everyone gets to have their hero moment, and it just felt like a stretch because the made-up science didn't quite make sense to me.
It mostly felt like a way to use time travel in a big way in the finale. It just felt like let's time travel harder than we've ever time traveled before.
It was at the same time though. It's nice to revisit where they picked up the nuke and the Night of the Hawks, which was one of my favorite episodes.
Yes.
So it was nice to have like those anchor points. It was a good way of like revisiting the whole season and just seeing the whole thing and being like, okay, we took a journey here.
Yeah.
And each step made sense.
And one person that did take a journey was Rory. Mick Rory's probably had one of the most changes for the season. We see when he gets back in 2016, he just goes back to his Robin ways, finds some other guy. Hey, you use Snart's cold gun. Yeah, and if you kind of suck at it, so I'm just going to get rid of you.
Yeah, that was funny.
And I do like Ray just apologizing to him, saying, hey, I think maybe Snart was maybe wanted us to be buddies.
So
I love that.
Before we even move on, though, to Mick and Ray, because I did like a lot of that business, can we talk about, so yes, Mick went through this big journey, right? He changed on a profound, fundamental level. We saw that. The series bears this out. He killed that boy. Just like that. It was played for a laugh. But our new transformed Mick Rory, basically on a whim out of irritation, just killed this kid. Like, that kid was maybe 20.
Right. You know what I kind of wish we saw? I wish he became like Dog the Bounty Hunter. You know?
What do you think? Like, he's got all the Chronos training.
Yeah. He's trained to be a bounty hunter now.
he is
A bounty
Boba
hunter
Fett.
through time with like a robot suit, granted. But still, he has this gun.
He could have his own reality show in Central City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, dude,
Yeah.
you have both guns now.
Right?
Just use them both.
Guns. Why is he has like, no, I'm the fire guy. I need an ice guy.
Do you know what it is? I'd almost buy he doesn't want to wield it because that's whoever's partner is, that's his partner's gun. That would be a stronger statement if he didn't just kill the boy on a whim. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, maybe let's pretend he didn't kill him and it just blasted him back.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like, oh, hot, my eyebrows are gone.
You know that
Like,
at least half of him was engulfed in flames in the shot.
And I love how
Nah,
Ray.
just eyebrows gone.
Ray didn't do anything either. He's just like, hey, buddy. Like,
Hey, dude.
Get away, Trev.
Way to kill that
Even
guy.
Ray Palmer's like, nah, screw that kid.
I'm the
No
Boy
one
Scout.
cares.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
this. It's cool.
like-
Let's drive away.
As long as it's Palmer approved, it's okay.
I feel like that time he killed the dude like a bullet really changed Ray.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
just went through a dude, yeah, that'll change you.
And now he wants to go through with Mick.
That's right. So we have Mick and Ray going like, hey, maybe we still have unfinished business. And then we have Stein, who it just seems in this episode that doesn't have the most exciting marriage because all he does is play Trivial Pursuit with his wife.
That was
all the time.
his big, like, if they hadn't gotten back together to finish their mission, his big payoff was, I'm better at trivia.
Yeah, and also I feel like there was a couple episodes where he's like he almost lost his marriage you know, it kept fading away.
Yes.
And to finally see them back together and just playing Trivial Pursuit.
That was it.
It's like,
Like an old married couple.
it's like
I wish we saw them making sweet, sweet love. I
Yeah,
think
that would have been
been
adorable.
much better.
I just
Just
wish.
some old people sex happening. It would be great.
I just wish. Why do they have her in such a bad wig? I'm like, we got Quentin Lance with a
I
great
totally
toupee, and I
noticed
was just
that.
like, what is the deal with that? Like, it's so random. If she has short hair, she has short hair. We can believe she
Yeah.
got a haircut.
What is she
Yeah.
hiding?
Yeah.
Find out next
Dun, dun,
season.
dun.
Snart
Yeah.
takes off the wig. She's just Snart all along. He's been making love and playing Trivial Pursuit with Snart this entire time. Season 2, Legends of Tomorrow.
So we have him saying, I still haven't finished business too. They all get back together and they, using subspace and temporal technology, they're going to contact the Wave Rider.
By the way, earlier in the chat, I do want to have a shout out to Michael Blake, who wrote, I felt like it was time for Jax to roofie Stein.
Yeah. That's what we were
And I
laughing
gotta
about.
say, like, I kind of wish that actually happened.
And chance to go full circle.
Like, turn about. I did feel like there was that tense moment where they were all like, the intervention happened and they were all hugging. I was like, are they about to have a threesome?
Oh, that's what I thought too.
A little firestorm.
Yeah.
no, it's like that scene in House of Cards, like season 1, where Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright seduce the driver together.
Right, right. Spoiler alert, by the way.
That was like 4 years ago.
Everyone's catching up on all their CW shows before they move to this. Don't
like
you
when
know?
I spoiled Usual Suspects at a bar like a few months ago, and it's just like that movie came out in 1994. Get over it.
Right.
Dude, I feel like that's a weird example too, because
Yeah.
everyone knows the ending.
Yeah. Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Sose.
What?
Dun, 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 dun.
Krisha, come on.
Yeah.
He was dead all along.
Spoiler alert!
Uh-oh. Thanks, Lacretia.
I know.
So we get everybody together. They get ripped back here. In the meantime, we cut over to 1944 France. We see Kendra on the run. We get to see Lex's favorite shot where we see Vandal Savage coming out, tossing
Just
knives.
like, "Ugh, knife, ugh."
And she does the thing where she just leaves a little message in this poor army man's little helmet that goes through time.
And did you say what is the significance of that actual helmet?
Oh, I guess she noticed it in the Wave Rider, but I was hoping it was going to be like a nice Sergeant Rock call out.
Yeah, I thought it was like a little Sergeant Rock nod.
Or
'cause
at
that's-
least it would have been like an Easy Company. I mean, it's. I mean, certainly I mean, he's a sergeant, so.
Right.
But it's not necessarily Sergeant Rock, but for at least an Easy Company shout out would have been great. Like
Yeah.
Ice Cream Boy. If it would have been Ice Cream Boy, that would have been cool. Ice Cream Soldier. That would've
Yeah,
been
or
cool.
just a Marvel crossover, because I was thinking Agent Carter. What? We're going back to
Right.
World War II here?
Also, and I understand that this needed to happen, Kendra had to take a second, write the message down, put it in his helmet so that they find her and save reality. She totally got Homeboy killed by standing there as long as she
yeah.
did.
Right. Also, I do have to say, like, when she thought of that idea, I bet she was like, I hope you don't sweat a lot. And put it in there. Because then the note would go. Fortunately, he got killed right away.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, how do you know it's that exact helmet that happens to be on the Wave Rider? It couldn't be any other soldier's helmet that happens to be on the Wave Rider. It's
don't
that
know.
particular one. But somehow she knows it.
Yeah, but okay, that's a good point, because I was actually going to say I thought a good way to Deus Ex that Machina was when they noticed that it shifted space.
Chrono repositioning.
Yeah, which I know is made. Okay, this is a good example of, I think, smart dumb science, like smart dumb made up science, because yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Don't worry about it though. They made up a reason to at least pay attention to the helmet.
Right.
You know, they didn't just have. I thought like Jax was gonna let the helmet fall down and then pick it up and be like, oh, it was here all along, which would be so stupid and really Deus Ex Machina. But the fact that they just made up this little stupid thing that just shifted position so that they had to pay attention to it, that was good enough for me. That's all I need.
There you go.
A reason like that
Yeah.
for why they had to kill Vandal Savage in 3 different time periods. Okay. Not to dwell.
And then we find Savage's plan. He revives Carter and Kendra on his ship, and he finds out if he draws their blood, he needs their blood to activate the Thanagarian tech. And the idea is we're going to use these 3 meteors, blow them up in 3 different times. We're going to reboot the timeline to 1700 BC, and I'll be a god.
Which, by the way, I really enjoy the way that you just phrased it. We're going to basically reboot time. And they don't, obviously they dwell on it in as much as, this is a terrifying evil plan, we have to stop him. really think about that for a second and what that would mean. That literally means everything after what is the year 700 something
1700
BC no longer exists. Just doesn't exist.
Yep, and it's just
What?
Yeah.
and Kendra.
Which, you know, honestly, actually, I actually like that because I feel like I've seen a lot of time jumping stuff and time travel things, and I've never heard, I don't think I've ever seen anything where the big plan is to reboot.
Yeah.
And not to, after they've established time in general, to just start over from the very top. Well, I guess I have seen people go back in time and then an alternate
alter it.
reality. Yeah, like having Biff and all that stuff. And
But this didn't seem so much about altering it as much as wiping it out completely.
Yeah.
And I agree. I really like it. I would have liked, and obviously we only have so much time per episode, I would have liked a little bit more explanation exploration of the horrific existential implications of this.
yeah.
Well, it's very similar to like Crisis on Infinite Earths when
gonna
the
say.
antimatter
Yeah.
wants to go back and he wants his hand to be like the hand of creation that they end up spying there through the view screen, and that ends up the reboot the whole entire universe in his image. Oh, that was always that's a nice little nod to that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's it's a good plan. It made sense.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Sure. All right. But then we find out, all right, so we know that Savage is in 3 different time periods. We go back to 1944 to try to stop him because we've got that note from Kendra. We get a scene where they get to fight the Nazis. Look at
Yeah,
that.
good Nazi fighting.
Right?
Good. Nazis are always the most killable things.
And
Nazi robots and zombies.
I had no idea how badly I wanted to watch this team fight the Nazis until I saw this team fighting Nazis.
I also love how whenever there's some sort of extraterrestrial or supernatural object, it's like, who has this? Oh, the Nazis.
Yeah.
The Nazis always have it.
Well, if you've ever watched the History Channel, you know that they make up these stories that was true. Like, the
Yeah, he
Nazis
was-
invented meth. Like, the Nazis did this. They practiced Satanism. I
Yeah,
mean,
they got
they did
Hellboy.
everything bad. Yeah.
They got the Ark.
Yeah.
They
Red
got
Skull.
Red Skull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got them all.
Yeah.
They're the best bad guys in the world. There's never going to be another good bad guy like the Nazis.
It's a great catch-all, multi-purpose bad guy. You can make him do anything.
You know what?
Or they
Thank
swing
God for the
dance.
Nazis.
Yeah,
guys.
That's
Yeah.
right.
No,
Guys,
I'm
you
just
can quote
kidding.
Dave Child.
No.
There you go.
It's what Stein said it himself in this episode. I never thought I'd say this, but we need a Nazi.
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, two of my favorite moments happened in this episode. This is the first one where we finally get to see Firestorm use some of his real cool powers where he transmutes something. Finally, it's not just fire blast; it's actually transmutation.
He does it. They do it basically on accident, but they do
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Oh, let's use this vase that no one has ever seen ever before.
Oh
Let's
my
get
God,
her
it's the
right.
best thing.
What I loved about it is that Ray and Kendra's lucky vase?
It's
As if
like-
this is
like
something
that's a
that had
thing.
ever been established before, that we were supposed to know they
Yeah.
had a
Yes.
lucky vase.
I want there to be a deleted. I wish it just did a flashback where them like going back to the Wave Riders like, well, I'm glad we're back at the Wave Rider, and we have our lucky vase.
And I can only imagine them panning across the rest of the crew, and they're all like, and then Jax is like, yeah.
Oh, and
that's
then
it.
it cuts back like, yes, it is the lucky vase. That's all I need.
Which is interesting because when Jax wants to keep practicing this transmutation power, for some reason Stein is just like, no, we shouldn't be doing this. And I think Jax has the best explanation. This is an extra power that could come in really handy defeating Savage. I don't know why Stein was like, we got more important things to be doing. Like
Then saving reality?
yeah, how about mastering this cool power that could really help you out?
To be fair, Stein walked away from an intense trivia game.
Yeah.
That's very true.
He wants to learn more history so he can go back and really kick his wife's ass.
His wife who's secretly snart.
Yeah,
Ew.
of course.
Yeah.
Listen, let's not unfold all the
That's right.
Yeah.
Save some surprises for season
Yeah,
two.
yeah, yeah.
For sure.
season 2.
Well, we see also in this that Jax is able to free Carter and Kendra, but on the way out, Kendra gets shot and gets caught again. And I feel like Kendra spent the majority of these last couple episodes just being a prisoner. I feel like that didn't really do her character any service.
She was Nell and Dudley Do Right, literally the damsel in distress every chance. And I'm like, really, as a woman,
Yeah.
it's very disappointing. Considering she does have these cool powers, they just never let her use them.
Well, I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know if she was in distress for most of the season. I think she was mostly dealing with her relationship with a dude
Yeah.
the entire season, but not in distress. Like, she wasn't the one getting captured all the time, I don't think.
No, it's just been
they
these last
kinda-
couple.
Yeah, last
Yeah.
couple, but
And it's weird because in a way it does feel a little bit like an awkward lateral move from we spent a whole season watching her defining herself based on the men around her, which is
Yeah.
icky,
Yeah,
to
problematic.
I would argue she has more function in the story in these last couple than she has all season, but it's as damsel in distress, which is also icky.
yeah.
And I feel like you spent the whole season saying that it's Kendra and Carter. Kendra and Carter, they can kill Savage. And I mean, of course, we kind of tweak things around so that everybody had their moment, like you were saying, their time to shine. But to spend so much time setting it up that it was crucial that they were the ones that could do it. I felt like even that just was kind of watered down when you start including everybody else. You just kind of made them less important when you basically render Savage mortal and everybody has to kill him.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I felt that too, and it was also like, and they had the knife, and they had her, and so it was enough to, I don't know. When it actually happened, it was a little disappointing.
Well, the problem I think is that the Hawk people are. Tell me if you guys disagree. Are maybe the least fully developed characters on this show.
Oh no, I totally agree. And a lot of the people in the chat are saying the same things, like good riddance to the Hawk people. And I feel bad because visually, as well as, going back to like thinking about the Justice League and all the comics, they're important characters, especially to this season with Vandal Savage. But just no one cared by the end, I felt, because they just did not have good story development.
I think it was just distracting because they tried to put all the romantic heat in their corner. And
Yeah.
But while telling you the whole time that Kendra and Ray couldn't be.
Yeah.
Constantly. So it's hard
Yeah.
to why you're trying to make us invest, and yet at the same time telling us don't invest because it's not going to pay off at all.
Yeah, if this was just their show, I'm sure we would find out, get a sense of what Kendra's favorite foods are. What Carter's favorite color
It's tuna
is.
casserole. Yeah,
Which
that's
is
why
ha-
Vandal
yeah.
brought it over.
Yeah, the evil side.
But to if they had their own show, but if it's almost unfair because they as characters had far less time than anyone else save Rip for us to get to know them. We got to know Ray on Arrow, we got to know Captain Cold and Heatwave on Flash, we got to know Sarah on Arrow. We met the Hawk people for a couple episodes, crossovers, and that's about it. We still don't know them that deeply, so which is why when you give them all of the romantic weight, it doesn't quite work because their defining character trait is also a bird.
Yeah, and also even Jax, we got to see, his family and his daddy issues and all of that stuff. So he was even really defined this season overall. By the end of the season, we get a sense of who he is.
Sure.
And I don't get that with Kendra. They had a kid at one point who was an old man.
Yeah.
And that was about it. And we see her old. That conversation that Kendra has with older Kendra is, I think, the best Kendra moment there is.
Because it's about her, and it's her defining herself based on herself and not what dude is around.
Yeah,
Or
except
saying she's a barista.
yeah, except I was about to say though, during that whole conversation, they're just talking about
They're
dudes.
just talking.
Yeah.
It doesn't pass the Bechdel
Yeah,
test,
it doesn't
does
even pass the Bechdel.
Oh,
They're
you're
still
right.
talking about like, listen, it's not going to work out with Ray because of Carter. It's just the discussion was, the fact that she was talking to someone, and I think that other actress who played the older Kendra did a great job of being this like older, wiser character. But it's still no Bechdel test.
You're right, and that didn't even occur to me as I was remembering the scene.
Yeah.
I'm remembering the positives, but you're right. They're continuing to define Kendra based on the men around her, and we had a lot of time spent with Kendra.
Yeah.
And it was all spent doing stuff like that, which I think is a little icky anyway.
yeah.
But
we are forgetting about her trying to train Sarah to get that rage out of her. That was
a
moment.
good scene. And I thought her chemistry with Sarah was way better than even with Carter or Ray. And, whether it was just friend chemistry like Snart and Sarah or what, but they had better chemistry. And I actually cared when they were on screen together.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Sarah was.
until you brought it up just now, though, I forgot that was a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. Because and it had nothing to do with the guy. It just had her dealing with like this new powers that had to come into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seemed like that went away all of a sudden. They just stopped doing that. They still had their comrade chemistry, Sarah and Kendra, but the training stuff, the really working together, the making each other stronger, like that just seemed to stop after a
That
little
was
while.
like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it would if they had focused on that as much as they focused on the Ray relationship, I think it would have maybe built up the characters a little bit. But you got to remember, a lot of this show is a vision board that they're trying to hit,
Right.
And a lot of time restraints. And it's we talked about in last episode That's why there was a lot of retcon in the last episode, and I think maybe there was a little bit of that in this one too, where they just tried to revisit the whole series and be like, everything has a reason, everything is important. That's why we go back in time to these certain periods.
Yeah, so we split it up in 1958, and we've got Ray and Rip Ray and Rory back there. 75, where we've got Sarah and Firestorm, and then we've got 2021, where we've got Rip and then Kendra and Carter.
Yeah.
And eventually they beat Savage. They all do that. Everybody gets their chance to kill Savage. I feel like, I guess, certainly the 2021, the most important one, since we've got both not only Carter and Kendra, but also Rip too.
And I mean, like I said earlier, I think the fight sequence, when it gets down to everyone has their powers, everyone's fighting, everyone's using their powers, that was still pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That was still pretty cool to watch.
I really did appreciate, and this is just the way it played to me, obviously the Hawks have to finish Savage, and they do, finally. But I really liked, they stab him, Vandal Savage is clearly, he's dying, he's done, and then Rip has to run in and put his hands on the knife so that he's part of it too.
I'm here too, guys.
Yeah.
Because my family
was great. There were a few moments tonight where Rip was just like, all right, bro, just chill. Like, there was a moment where earlier on when they finally, they unite, it's like, we're back together and we're going to go get him. There was a moment where I get, off camera before he turns and walks dramatically, Rip catching himself in the mirror going, oh, pops his collar, and then turns towards the camera, is like,
Yeah, that moment you talked about earlier where he falls off the building and then he's just on his ship when it goes up. I wish we saw the 1 second where he hits the ship.
It was so Back to the Future.
Oh, okay, all right. I got
it's like, that was a freebie. And then
now I'm fine.
starts rising, goes, oh, my collar, pops it, and then,
Well, we see they all kill Savage, but the meteors are still in play. But Ray shrinks his meteor back in 58, which is cool. Firestorm finally masters transmutation, changes it into water in 75, but they can't make it. The radiation has progressed too far in 2021. So what are we going to do with this? Rip decides to just take the meteor and fly him and the Wave Rider and the meteor directly into the sun.
Batman it.
So this felt sudden to me.
It felt weird. Like, why not just shoot it in to the sun?
Which is what they did.
Yes.
But they had to have their weird sunshine moment.
Yeah, Rip had to be heroic at least one point. We gave him this.
Yeah, to be like, I'm here with... Well, because, I mean, honestly, I think we were all kind of expecting... This whole first season has been the story of Rip, and we were expecting it to come to an end of him dying heroically or almost dying heroically. And, it hit that mark.
Well, would you have been satisfied, say, he has this kind of, whether it's just a real or imagined kind of reunion? It could have been just, as he's dying, he has his reunion with his wife and child, and then the ship blows and he's dead. But he, at least that he had some kind of spiritual kind of reunion with his family. Would you have been satisfied with that as an ending for Rip's character, or you like it better that he just had some kind of emotional kind of closure and now he's still back in play?
Because here's the thing. I feel like we haven't seen the best of Rip yet. So I like that he has a second chance. I like that he has a second chance to really develop the character more.
Unburdened with that, this goal that he's got.
Yeah, because I like Arthur Darville, and I
do
wanted to
too.
see,
I want to see him actually really use that character in coming up.
Yeah. I'm absolutely glad that he's not dead for sure. And I get the choice. It's like, okay, I have to make the sacrifice play, but it's okay because I'll be with my wife and my child again. But I wish they had laid the groundwork for that a little bit more effectively, because as it played, I was just like, well, why do you even have to be in the ship? Why wasn't what they ultimately did Plan A?
Yeah. I think it's tough, especially with the structure for the seasons, where you tie everything to one singular objective for an entire season. It makes it tough sometimes because your character just kind of gets handcuffed to that objective, and you don't get a chance to really flesh them out, much like I think with the Hawks, and same thing with Rip. So it's singularly tied to that. So now, free of that, be cool. Let's see what we can do with Rip when he's not tied to that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we get to the end there. Everybody decides like, hey, are we going to break up the band, or are we going to keep the band together?
What I love is that they're all there, and Rip goes, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically like, I'm a little surprised that you guys decided to come with me for a second go around, and they're like, no, we're not. Yeah. Oh, we're not going with you. No. But then,
No, so the Hawks take off, so they're gone. They're saying, which I think, well, of course, we'll see them in 3 months. As Rory says, see, well, I think it'll last about 3 months.
Yeah.
Just over the summer hiatus. Then you guys will come back and join us.
Yeah.
But then another Wave Rider crashes, and who comes out of the crash? Patrick J. Adams, which we've been teased about. We've all had our speculations about who he's going to be. We've thought maybe the Question, maybe Adam Strange. Oh no, as we teased way earlier in the season when we showed you some photographs of some Justice Society paraphernalia, like Wildcat, Dr. Midnight and stuff, lo and behold, Patrick J. Adams is playing Rex Tyler, our man. Oh, man. Come on now.
and he name drops the Justice Society of America.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And it makes sense too that it's Our Man is the first one we see in this time traveling show.
Yes.
You know,
Only
time
disappointed
powers.
that he didn't have a mask. I mean, he has the hood, which is cool, but come on. And no real big, huge hourglass on the costume.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that because I think we would know who he is as soon as he walked up. I think he needed to say it.
It would blow the reveal a little
So
bit.
yeah, I think maybe in next season we might see him go like, and let me just do this.
So, son.
I didn't want to freak you guys out, but
Yeah.
I wear an hourglass. So.
We should also talk about. I think everyone pretty much knows this, but in next season or coming up, they've talked about how Supergirl is joining the CW.
That is
Yeah.
right.
And they have promised that there's going to be a 4-way crossover with Green Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl.
Yep.
I feel, Mr. Dave Child, I feel like you've made a great segue to talk about just some general predictions about upcoming seasons.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Mark has been waiting with his finger right over the button for that.
Yeah.
He's breathing a sigh of relief. Yes.
He wants those
All
predictions.
right. So now you pose that you're going to be a 4-way crossover, some kind of crisis, hopefully, in something. What do you think that happens? Do you think it's a whole reboot where we can bring Supergirl into this universe and make her a part of that, or is Supergirl always going to remain in her own separate universe?
That's a good question. Because I am wondering where the Justice Society is coming from. Like, are they coming from, the 50s, the 40s? I forget.
40s, yeah, I guess World War II.
40s? Yeah, it didn't seem like he was dressed like that, though. It seemed very futuristic or modern. So maybe he's doing an Earth 2 coming from an alternate reality.
I was going to say maybe an alternate dimension because on Supergirl in the Fortress of Solitude there was that ring.
The Legion.
That's from
There's
the Legion.
Oh, there's a Legion.
Superman.
I'm sorry, I got the two confused.
But that's a good point because they've been teasing that for a while. So they could just bring in the Legion of Superheroes with the Justice Society and have like a buttload of superheroes in like kind of one go.
Yeah, and
Or have them all kind of tied together.
when we were talking about, earlier in the season, we talked about the photos that they released that were teasing a bunch of Justice Society members, and my assumption is we're going to be seeing all of those characters in some form.
We better.
Yeah.
We better.
Definitely more aliens with Supergirl coming over and crossing over, and that'll be the key point.
Well,
I think. Yeah.
that's a big point I wanted to
Yeah.
bring up too because they keep mentioning Thanagarians.
Yeah.
Like they're going to show up. So I was surprised it wasn't Adam Strange because of that reason.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's gonna be Thanagarians in the next season. There must be.
Yes, I was reading though that apparently they are not going to be the principal threat of the season.
Right. Okay. So maybe they could even be setting up for season 3, or they're just in play somehow.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if they're going to have a full season order this time. If they broke it up into smaller chunks, 3 or 4 episodes, dealing with the villain there, you could tie stuff up. Maybe have something overarching at the end that you pay off, but at least kind of like more shorter contained stories. That way you can at least not have everybody tied to one singular objective, like Rip and the Hawks were this season.
Right.
You could have some more chance for them to kind of grow and do different things.
And it also gives you an opportunity to bring in and out a whole bunch of different DC characters depending on what the mission of these 4 episodes or however many happens to be.
I'm curious about when the giant crossover is going to happen. Is it going to happen before the seasons of all of these different shows, or is it going to happen like in the mid-season?
These
I
tend to
bet you
happen
mid-season, yeah.
Mid-season?
Yeah,
So
just
they're
before
going to
it
be working
goes
up to
away.
it.
Yeah.
from what they were saying, it seemed like maybe like early December is
Oh,
potentially
Yeah, that's
for
what I was
that.
thinking, yeah.
Right before that winter break, which would be really cool. So yeah, I'll be curious because I mean, I guess if you if you kind of reboot the universe in a sense with the Crisis, and then you merge Supergirl's world with the rest of the CW kind of universe,
Right.
then you've also got Superman introduced. You've got all this stuff. So that I don't know how easy that would be for them to do. So I don't know. Maybe they'll keep
Third-man
it set.
Superman. So weird.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. I like Supergirl a lot, but the only thing that's a little weird about it is there's always like Superman just oh, he's just over there in the corner.
Is he
Bye,
always
Superman?
Does he?
What was that?
And he
Oh, of
IMs
course,
a lot
Superman.
because
Yeah.
it's 2000.
Well, does he
Yeah.
always intentionally stand in silhouette, or does he not have a face?
Sometimes he has boots. There was boots at one point.
I mean, the plus about having them in their own universe that you get to do the cool DC multiverse.
Right.
But then the bad part is you always had to come up with ways and contrivances to merge those universes to cross over the universes.
The thing is, they've already done that with the Flash.
Yeah, he's
Like,
dimension
Flash
hopping
is-
like every week.
So I think, and they have a super spaceship that also travels through time. They could just put a few, tighten a few gears here, loosen a few screws there, and then it'll jump through alternate realities.
That's why
too.
Jax is there, man. He knows how to do
that's
that.
what Jax will do. Oh boy.
Well, we've got many other thoughts that we want to share, and sadly, we've run out of time for
Right.
this episode there. And this season of Legends of Tomorrow, that's it. We are done for the season, but we'll be back next season to break down all these episodes. We hope you will join us as well, but continue to like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes. Continue the conversation with us on Twitter. Let us know what you think about what's coming up for season 2. What do you think about the crossover? More importantly, the Justice Society of America, guys.
Right.
Come on, that's
Yeah.
so awesome. Come on, I want to see Dr. Midnight. Look at that. That'd be so cool. In the meantime, if they want to continue the conversation with you, Lacretia, where can they do so?
Of course, you can find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
Yeah, and you can find me at MR Dave Child. Anywhere on the internet, I guess, or just Twitter specifically. Also, I wanted everyone to know you can find Frank and I on Preacher, Preacher After Show, starting Sunday.
We're court ordered to do after shows together.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
can't ever leave one another. We're like the Hawk people,
That's right.
just always reinventing ourselves.
True. I may do shows with Lex Michael, but it's never going to last between us.
No, it's destined to end in failure. If it's not Dave Child, I will end the universe alone by myself, I suppose. I am Lex Michael, all over social media at the Lex Michael. I actually have something to plug super quickly. I am co-creator, co-writer, co-producer, co-star of a new comedic web series. It is called Us 2. It is about a couple of best friends who are total doofuses with hearts of gold that really just want to be a part of something, and their efforts to be part of things tend to lend them no success whatsoever. They end up flat on their faces over and over and over again. We premiered it the other night in Hollywood. It went really well, and we're super excited to share it with everybody. It's going to be live online tomorrow, May 20th. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be all over after that. We'll be posting the links all over the place, but please check it out. We're very excited about it.
Just a bunch of rip hunters.
Just a lot of rip hunters.
And you can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie. You'll see me on Sunday with Dave Child, Roxy Stryer, Ben as well. We're going to be breaking down Preacher. We'll see you next time, everybody, here on AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Truce.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.